These are my personal opinions. Always seek a professional when you're making choices about your mental health and well-being. I get really hard questions. Sometimes I get really hard questions. In fact, I get sometimes no-win questions. And what I mean by that is that sometimes I will get a question that no matter how I answer it, someone is going to be upset by my answer. Someone will write to me or someone will leave me a review and say, that answer was terrible. The advice you gave, the suggestion you gave was terrible. You're not a PhD. You're not a therapist. They will say some really sometimes hurtful things about what I've said on the air. And today, it's one of those questions that I've received that will certainly get me in trouble. I mean, it will get me in trouble by someone out there who doesn't like my response, or they think my response is dangerous. This is why I preface every episode with, these are just my opinions. See a professional for your mental health and well-being. I have to say that. That is required. I am who I am. I know what I know. I have been trained in different areas. I have been studying everything I know about communication, behavior, psychology, and all this stuff for a good 25 years. And I ended up getting certified as a life coach back in 2008, 2009, something like that. And I went to an accredited school in Washington. I mean, I have training, but no matter how much training you have, people are going to call you out. That's not enough. You need more training. And I'm constantly in training. I'm constantly updating my training. So I preface what I'm talking about today with two things. One, I know what I know because I've done a lot of healing. I've been dysfunctional. I've been toxic. I've also healed from those things. And I've been on the other side. I've been in toxic situations and I've learned how to deal with those things. And I've developed myself. I've evolved myself in different ways. Doesn't mean I'm perfect. Doesn't mean I'm right. Just means I've done a lot and I've learned a lot and I've healed a lot. And I take this, what I know, and for the last, as of this recording, 11 years, I've been sharing what I know. And I've literally heard from thousands of people that what I share has been helpful. And so I keep doing that until somebody calls me out. And I wait for the day that somebody says, this specific thing that you said was bad or unhelpful or hurtful. I wait for that day. Somebody once did say, like a few years ago, they said, what you're saying is it could cause more problems. And then I listened to the episode and they said that I said something that I didn't say. So they heard something that I said and said, oh, you said this. And then I looked and I didn't. And then I never heard back from them. So I still wait for the day that somebody says this specific thing that you said was harmful or hurtful, because I really do approach every question I get with a lot of thought and a lot of compassion. And I put myself in that person's shoes. And so enough about me. I just wanted to get that out there because people have said these things throughout the years. I mean, one of the comments I want to make before I really get into this topic is that the more people you reach, the more people will disagree with you. The more you touch, meaning emotionally, the more people you touch emotionally, the more people you connect with, the more likely you're going to hurt someone unintentionally. You could say something completely benign or innocent or even loving, and then it comes out in a way that they take badly or wrong. Why did you say you love me? Do you think I need your charity? What? Where does that come from? And why would you take it that way? I do love you. I care about you, but it can be taken the wrong way. And it all depends on that person's state of mind, their reality, what they're going through, what they have gone through, and confirmation bias. It's typically what it is. It's like, you're going to confirm what I already believe. You're going to say something that is already in alignment with my model of reality. So when you say it, I can confirm it and say, aha, it is true. And a lot of us do this. Most of us do this. If we believe that the other side are bad people, everything they say can be construed as bad. Think of political arguments. If we believe they're dumb, everything they say is dumb, and we will find a way to confirm that it is dumb because that side is dumb. So it is a bias that we might carry, and we confirm that bias by justifying what we believe is true. And so there's a lot of that. And then there are people that just believe they know better, and they will tell you that you're wrong. And that's fine. I'm okay with that. Let's have a conversation. I'm okay with that because I would rather know when I'm wrong. I would rather know when somebody has a problem with what I'm saying or how I'm showing up in the world. Tell me. Let's talk about it. I'm open to that. I really want to hear it. And I'm not just talking about people who listen to this show. I'm talking about in life in general. For you. Life in general, you're going to run into people all the time, every day. And the more people you run into, the more likely you're going to offend someone, hurt someone, make someone think that you're abusive or toxic. I remember meeting this guy. He came over my condo once when I was right after my breakup, a long time ago, one of my breakups. And he came over to fix something. I forget what it was. But we got into talking, and he said that his girlfriend's friend was single and would I like to meet her? I thought, wow, maybe. Let's talk some more. And so he invited me over to his house, and he was showing me something. And I met his girlfriend, and she didn't like me from the get-go. I don't know what he said to her, and I don't know how I appeared to her, but I was just being kind and friendly and appreciating their generosity and hospitality. And I didn't know why she was so upset, or I don't know what was on her mind, but she did not like me. Have you ever gotten that vibe where somebody just doesn't like you? She wasn't really hiding it. She just gave me that look and crossed her arms, and I did not feel a very welcoming vibe. And so I don't know what I did. And of course, I left, after we had a conversation for a little bit, I left thinking, what did I do wrong? Why didn't she like me? I had these thoughts of insecurity. Why didn't she like me? And it took a long time to really understand that sometimes you'll meet people that don't like you for any possible reason that you'll never know. There are people that do things and feel things and think things that you'll never, ever understand. I could have looked like her toxic brother, or I could have looked like somebody that she doesn't like. Or maybe her boyfriend said, hey, I got this guy, he's living in this place, and maybe he can meet your friend. And then when I came over, she doesn't approve of me because she loves her friend and she doesn't want her friend going out with somebody like me, whatever that means. And okay, I may never know, I know I will never know why she didn't like me. But I think it's important to be okay and find closure within yourself in a way. You find closure to these things like, why didn't they like me? How am I going to find closure to that? I'll never find out. Why didn't they like me? Why didn't they love me? Why do they think I'm a jerk? Why do they think I'm unlovable or unworthy? Let's get really deep. Well, I don't know. Can I be okay with not knowing? How about yes? Yes, I'll be okay without knowing because there's a million zillion other things I don't know. And I can be okay not knowing that either. I can be okay not knowing. I mean, this is like a mantra for yourself if you're dealing with something like this. Can I be okay not knowing? can I be okay never learning the truth? Because I may never learn it. So I may have to move forward. Kind of reminds me what I'm talking about today. Somebody wrote and said, how would you respond to the statement, I never asked to be born? They say it's a line from Vonnegut's Timequake, a book about something happening, like 10 years disappears and then suddenly everyone's repeating the last 10 years. And this has been echoing in my mind, they say. Especially when I struggle to make sense of my life, I feel exhausted and I don't understand why I should live, particularly considering that being alive was never my choice. Got an answer? That's a tough one. Are they saying they're going to commit suicide? I hope not. Are they saying it philosophically? It doesn't sound like it. It sounds like a serious question. I don't understand why I should live. This is one of those questions where I'm going to be wrong no matter how I answer it. And the whole point of what I do is to share a perspective. It's to share an opinion. To share a thought. Like, what do I think of this? And so I come to you humbly, saying that I have thoughts on this, just like I've had thoughts on everything I've talked about today and everything I've talked about in the last 11 years. Doesn't mean I'm the only authority. It doesn't mean I'm the person that everyone should listen to. It just means that sometimes it's helpful to have another thought. Sometimes it's helpful to add another thought to your bag of thoughts, to your bag of tools. And I like to look at it this way. If you've been listening to me for a while and you appreciate my thoughts, my opinions, my insights, then perhaps my thoughts are helpful or useful to you, and you can take them with you. And listening to another episode, you can expect the same hopefully reasonable line of thinking, hopefully helpful line of thinking, and that it adds value to your life. So I like to look at anything you absorb, anything you read, anything you watch, as if it's helpful to your life, you should probably consume more of it. If it's not helpful, or if it's questionable, or you feel bad every time you absorb it, whether that's read, watch, or listen, then it might be time to change things up. When I read the synopsis of Vonnegut's Timequake, I thought that might be difficult to read if you're already somewhat questioning why you're here. That might be difficult to get through if half the philosophy in the book is talking about the point of existence. And I might be wrong about that. That maybe that's not the totality of it all. But that's the summary I got from AI that told me what the plot was about. And so I step away from that. I step away from the plot of that book and put myself in this person's shoes. And if I were to ask or say, I never asked to be born, if I said that, and I was struggling to make sense of my life, and I feel exhausted, and I don't even understand why I should be here or why I should live, considering that being alive was never my choice, what do I do with that? This is how I answer questions sometimes, is that I sit with it. I put it inside my head. I be in that space, not with them, but as them. I didn't ask to be here. What am I doing here? What's the point? That's where I go. So I'm in that space. What is the point of living here on this earth at this time? The first thought that comes to mind, and this isn't helpful probably, but my first thought is, oh my God, of all gifts to receive, to experience consciousness, to experience existence instead of nothing. What a chance. I mean, that's the first place I go. I'm not saying that this person's like, okay, yeah, whatever, look at it positively, optimistically. I understand that that's probably not what they want to hear, but I'm trying this on. The first thing I think about is what a gift I get to experience this. Because I know some people hearing this right now might say, this isn't a gift. My life sucks. I'm going through a lot. My relationships suck, or I have no relationship and that sucks. Everything I do is a failure, or a lot of the things I do is a failure. What's the point? I can feel that. I can feel that very depressing thought process. It feels defeating. It feels crushing. It feels like a huge weight on my chest. And I don't like it. How am I going to get rid of this weight on my chest, being in this space right now? What do I need to do? What should I do? I have felt this way before. I felt this way in my 20s. I felt like there was no point in being here. I didn't tell myself I didn't ask to be here. I just believed there was no point in being here because I just lost a relationship and I wasn't really happy at work. I didn't have a lot of money. And what's the point? That's basically, that was my question. What's the point? The very first thing that came to mind, because that's kind of like a fatalist question, right? I'm aiming toward not being here anymore. That was my thought process back then. What's the point? So the very first thing that came to my mind was, let's just say I do something to myself. Let's just say I hurt myself or even kill myself. I'm just going to put it out there. Let's just say I did that. And then they find my body and my mom. My mom learns about this. And how's she going to feel? Wow, that hits me now when I talk about it. If my mom found out that I was dead, oh my God, she would be crushed. She was my saving grace back then, and she lived 1,000 miles away. I really had to step outside myself. I had to see things from a bigger picture because I was so self-absorbed. And I'm not saying this person who wrote to me is self-absorbed. I'm just saying in that space that I was in and I'm trying on right now, I'm very self-absorbed. It's all about me. It's all about how I feel. And it really is all about us, right? It's about how I feel, what I'm going through in this moment, or for these past X number of years. What I'm going through is the most impactful, most important thing in my life because I'm experiencing it. Nobody else is. So here I am in this space, and I don't like this feeling, and I just want this feeling to go away. And when I stay in myself, when I stay inside me, my mom doesn't matter. My parents, my sisters, my brothers, my friends, none of them matter. But when I step outside myself and I see these connections that I have, I can see my world of connections that I have. And I'm no longer part of that the web of connections breaks. And there's misery all around. It's like I've taken their happiness with me. I don't want that. That's not what I want at all. I want them to be happy, but I can't be happy. I'm in this space. That's why I think it's important for me to step outside myself and see what else is going on, because I'm so inside myself. I'm so in my body. And I know that's what we do. We walk around in our body, but we become so absorbed in the trauma and drama and misery that can sometimes strike us hard in life. And sometimes it's not ending. It just doesn't end. So what do we do with this trauma and drama and misery if it doesn't end? I can't deny it any longer. I'm getting older and my diet isn't always perfect. Pizza Night doesn't exactly provide all the nutrients I need, although the jury is still out on that one. So I have to make sure I'm getting those vitamins and minerals from somewhere, which is why I'm telling you about Vimergy's fast-absorbing liquid vitamin supplements. These liquid formulas absorb faster than tablets and gummies, so your body can utilize the nutrients more efficiently. And they're made with pure, high-quality plant ingredients like naturally sweet flax glycerin instead of processed sugars. No unnecessary binders or fillers or anti-caking agents either. I really like that I can create my own personalized multivitamin blend using Vimergy's potent liquid formulas. It's wellness customized just for you and your needs. The liquids also go down smoothly, no giant horse pills to choke down. Vimergy is non-GMO, kosher, paleo-friendly, gluten-free, and formulated without alcohol, artificial flavors, or citric acid. Their products are triple third-party tested for quality too, so if you want Vimergy's fast-absorbing liquid vitamins for yourself, use the code BRAIN for 5% off your order. That's the word BRAIN when you're checking out at Vimergy.com, Vimergy.com. These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. This episode is also sponsored by BetterHelp. We're talking about a very tough but important topic today, finding purpose and meaning in life. If you're struggling to find that sense of wonder and curiosity about the world, therapy can really help reconnect you. As kids, we're always learning and growing, but as adults, we sometimes lose that natural inquisitiveness. What's something you'd love to learn? Gardening, a new language, bowling tricks to finally beat your friend. Your, quote, back to school era can come at any age through therapy. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. BetterHelp is an online therapy service designed to be convenient and flexible, fitting your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist, and you can switch anytime at no extra charge. BetterHelp will empower you with positive coping skills and personal boundaries to be your best self. Rediscover your curiosity with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/brain and get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/brain. Check them out today. I remember a story that was it Eckhart Tolle told. He said, I was in the middle of my depression. I felt so depressed. And I'm going to paraphrase this a little bit because I don't know the whole thing by heart. But this is when he was really fighting with his ego. He was depressed. And he said to himself, I don't know if I can, what did he say? I don't know if I can live with myself anymore. He said something like that. I know I'm getting it wrong, but it's very similar. He said, I don't know if I can live with myself anymore. And then he said, who is this I? And who is this myself? He didn't understand, like he was going through some sort of mental challenge in his mind, like a math puzzle or something. Who is I? Who is the person saying this? And it's a very interesting story, but he said he felt himself shift, like outside himself. He felt him separate from himself. He felt a separation. Psychologists might call that dissociation. You dissociate, and it's almost like you are separate from what he calls his ego self, or his pain body. I think he uses that term too. That's his pain body over there. And now he's in a state of I. This is me. Or I don't even know if he uses that. But again, look him up if you aren't familiar. But that was a fascinating thing, because that was the day he said he separated from ego. And that ego was no longer driving his thoughts and his behaviors and his decisions. And he said he spent the next 3 years at a park bench feeding pigeons. I'm sure he did a little bit more, but he said he wasn't doing anything with his life. He just felt, I guess, at peace being away from that pain body. And I see that, and I feel that, and I sense that in a way where I can also separate from that person who is experiencing this pain or suffering or drama or trauma or misery, and see that person over there, dissociate from that person, and look at him and say, you're dealing with a lot, so I'm going to be here. And I remember there were times in my life where I finally decided to say, and I have to bleep this, F it. I don't care anymore. F it. I don't care. Whatever happens, happens. This doesn't mean I wanted to hurt myself or kill myself. Didn't mean that at all. I just said, F it. I don't care. I don't care. And it felt relieving. It felt liberating to say that, to not care, because what I was caring about was so depressing. It was so suppressing and repressing. It was just pressing on me in every way. And I didn't like it. And I was not happy. In fact, I don't even know what it was. In the midst of my depression, it felt like no emotion whatsoever. Being sad would have been welcome, but I couldn't even feel that. So I was in that very self-absorbed state, and it was a self-perpetuating cycle that fed on itself. All these self-statements, because it was just circular. I am feeling bad, and the circularness is the bad feeding into itself. I am feeling depressed, and the circularness of that, or at least the circularness that I was experiencing because I'm in my own body, completely self-absorbed, feeding this and refeeding it back into myself. Of course, my perception of living and existence is going to be very low. I don't want to live like this because I'm in this self-perpetuating machine of feeding myself negative energy all the time, and I don't like it. And I wasn't thinking that way back then. I can think about this now, but it's very clear to me what was happening now. It's very clear when I was depressed that depression begets depression and continues to feed into itself, and bad feelings continue to feed bad feelings. It's like not listening to uplifting songs or watching comedies when you're depressed because you want to feed that depression. Depression's hungry. Feeling bad is hungry, and it wants more. Sometimes it wants more of that bad feeling. It's almost like a justification. Like, I feel this way and I want to feel justified in feeling this way. And you have every right to feel anything that comes your way. But when you feed it and it refeeds itself, the question is how to get out of it. That was my first thought. That was my first thought about this person's comment, and which I'm taking very seriously, believe me. I mean, someone who says, I don't understand why I should live, that tells me that there's a possibility that they want to die. And that hurts me. I'm not saying they're intentionally hurting me, but it hurts me to think that. Because I know this person probably has such a lot to live for and give and exist in a world where people will appreciate their presence and even love them. And I have a feeling they've just been around the wrong people. They've just been around people that don't see their worth, don't see how valuable they are and how wonderful a person they are. Because I know a lot of people well enough to know that if someone came up to them and said, I am feeling suicidal, their heart is going to open up and say, talk to me. What's going on? That's what I did with my friend once. He said those words. He said, sometimes I feel like killing myself. I feel suicidal. And I said, really? I didn't say, don't do it. I didn't say, call this number, but that's good advice. I'm going to give it to you now, just in case. The number is 988, at least in the US. There are other numbers for international. If you want to call and talk to somebody, type in like suicide hotline and you'll find something in your area. So that is I have to do that to be responsible, because that could be what saves your life. I mean, I'm not saying that this person says they're going to do anything, but sometimes you have to read between the lines, and sometimes the lines are very clear what's going on here, but I put that out there just in case someone needs it. And so back to my friend, I said, really? Meaning, really, you thought that before? You thought about killing yourself? And he said, yes. And I said, what brought that on? My approach is to open my heart and listen. And hopefully they'll say something that I can comment on or speak about or explore further or whatever. But if I don't know what to say, I'm just going to listen. Tell me more. Why do you feel that way? And we had a conversation. And I never guided him or told him what to do, because I think what happens, and this is my personal perspective, this isn't coming from somebody who guarantees you everything I'm saying is perfect and right. My personal perspective is, if you tell somebody something that everyone else tells them, they stop listening. So if I told this person, you need to call the suicide hotline right now, I mean, I put it in there if they want to. It's a very passive suggestion, but I'm here to listen and talk about it. And I'm spending this entire episode considering it, thinking about it, feeling it, trying it on, because it is something that I feel is important to dedicate time to. And this person reached out and shared something very deep and personal. And I take that seriously, because I want to let you know I do listen. I will listen. I care about you. I want you to live a wonderful and happy life. And if you're not experiencing that now, this is the second thing I do after I said everything I've already said. Second thing I do when somebody's in this space is ask the person, what's going on in your life now that is making you think this way? What is happening right now that is making you think this way? Because again, when I try this on, when I put myself in your shoes, the very first thing I think of, or the very second thing I think of, is, okay, you know what? F it, whatever happens, happens. And because I have this attitude, I'm going to do something different with my life, because who cares? Who cares if I spend all my money? Who cares if I tick off my mom and dad? Who cares if my friends don't understand what I'm doing? I'm going to do something different that I've never done before in my life. Maybe something I've always wanted to do, something that maybe inspired me as a child and I never got to do it, or I never got to see it. I might take my credit card and just buy a trip somewhere and experience a once in a lifetime thing, because who cares what happens, because I'm ready to leave. I'm ready to leave this earth, this planet, this existence. Who cares? I'll just do this and see what happens. What might happen is you change your life, but you got to try it. If you know that you're not going to be here anymore, or you don't want to be here anymore, try something that changes your life, and who cares what people think? F it. And do it and see what happens. You know, do something different. Don't do the other thing. What you're doing is moving in a new direction. You're moving in a new direction in your life. For example, some people are highly suppressed by the people around them. You can't do anything right. You're always a failure, blah, blah, blah. All the stuff that they're not even qualified to say, because you're born worthy and valuable and lovable. And then people condition you into believing other things about yourself that aren't true, which is why they're not qualified to label you or call you those things or make you feel those things. Because you were those things and you still are those things, but they're just not the right people. Consider the source. Bad source. And so that's why I believe in just moving in a new direction and seeing what happens, because what ends up typically happening is that you get out of or get away from the environment you're in, the people you're around. You stop caring about what people think, and you start doing and being the person that maybe has been inside you all along, and that person finally gets to come out, finally gets to express themselves. And it feels pretty good when you are able to do that. And maybe that feeling will self-perpetuate and carry on. That would be a nice thing, but you don't know until you try it. Because until you try it, you might be in another state of self-perpetuation, which feeds into itself, which is might be negative. So I'm going to wrap this up with a direct answer to the question, because I've been, skating around the actual question, because this person may not feel suicidal at all and may not be talking about that at all. And maybe it's just a philosophical question, but I thought it was a great topic to really explore and unpack today. But their question is, how would you respond to the statement, "I never asked to be born"? And they said they feel exhausted, which, I talked about a little bit, and they don't understand why. They said, "I don't understand why I should live, particularly considering that being alive was never my choice." I started by saying I see life as a gift. Some people see life as pain and suffering. I see life as that too. Life is definitely pain and suffering as well. It took a lot to get to where I am, and some people are still suffering where they are. That's why I think that when you're in pain and suffering and it doesn't end, you gotta move in a different direction, no matter what it takes sometimes. So my response to "I never asked to be born" is sort of twofold. How do you know? How do you know you weren't asked to be born? That's my first thought. How do you know for sure? How do you know that you never asked to be born? The second thought is, what if the challenges that were brought into your life were meant to give you the greatest gift of all? And because you're still in the challenge or in the challenges, because you're still in that, whatever it is, that constant self-perpetuating machine, because you're still in that, it's because you haven't moved in the direction that takes you into a new state of mind, a new reality, a new realm of being. What if your life was given to you as a means to create the greatest gift possible? They don't want that to sound like positive thinking, but I do want it to roll around in your brain a little bit. And the reason I say that is because every challenge that I've run into in my life, I mean, some big ones that I did not want to deal with, that made me miserable, that made me want to kill myself, that made me think all these terrible thoughts, that made me want to hurt others. All of those things, when I finally just said, I'm going to say it again, it. When I said it and I decided to maybe honor my boundaries and accept that not everyone's going to like what I decide and what I do, and just move in the direction that I feel was right for me. When I went against the grain and went against what everybody thought I should do, and everybody wanted to steer me toward, when I went against that and did my own thing, first I had to accept that not everyone was going to like it. And I also had to accept that there was a huge risk in changing directions, because the people who don't like it are going to make my life harder. And the more I moved in the direction that I wanted to do, the things that I wanted to do for me, even at the risk of relationships, even at the risk of going broke, and I'm not saying you should do this, I'm just saying that when I took risks in a direction that allowed me to build my character, my integrity, allowed me to feel authentically me. Once I decided to do that, not caring about what other people thought, I felt more comfortable in my own skin, and it allowed me to heal from a lot of the challenges in my life. And a good example is when I started honoring my personal boundaries. It's like a huge thing. That's a huge thing for so many people. What are personal boundaries? What you will and won't accept in your life. That's my quick definition. Once you decide what you will and won't accept in your life, you can choose to make that a boundary so that when people cross it, you can say, I don't accept that, or I don't wish to be treated that way, or walk away. Because why not? I mean, in the context of what we're talking about today, if you don't know why you're supposed to be here, it might be because you haven't established you as a presence on this planet who tells others who you are. You might have been walking around being defined by others instead of defining yourself to them. And when that happens, you'll get exhausted. You'll ask yourself, why am I here? I don't want to be here. This is ridiculous. I don't want to be alive. This isn't my choice. Of course, you're going to have thoughts like that. I get it. And I totally empathize. I totally understand where you're coming from, to the person who wrote. So that's why I say once you start doing things for yourself, I mean, the question I ask myself is, what would I do if I had absolutely no fear of the consequences? That is my question. That gets me to the next step, the next level. As soon as you start doing those things that you have had fears about, if you do them, you start defining who you are to the world. And when you do that, you start finding meaning in your life. And you start feeling like there's more to do and more purpose and more to experience and more to see. And as you move forward, continuing to define yourself, continuing to build a new foundation for yourself, then these questions and these comments that you once made, like, I never asked to be here, won't matter. Because now that you're here, you have an opportunity to change things in a direction that works for you, instead of moving in a direction that others want you to move in. That's often what I see, is that people want you to be a certain way. So now you have to be that certain way. Otherwise, you're unacceptable. How about I give you this? Thinking of that scene in The Matrix. How about I give you the finger and I get my phone call, or I move forward with my life without your interference? Should you do that? Is that my advice? I wouldn't tell somebody who says, well, I don't feel like hurting myself, but I'm still tired of life. I wouldn't necessarily talk like this to somebody like that. But boy, if you are reaching the end, or if you're questioning the why you're here and what's the point of being here, I want you to have some thoughts about a new direction, even if it seems impossible, even if it doesn't seem affordable or logical. Because what's the alternative? The alternative is the end. And then there's nothing. And then you think there was no point anyway, when there really is a point. In fact, I remember reading that I think it was like a huge number of, like 99% of people who survived the jump off this bridge. It might have been, I don't think it was the Golden Gate. It was something, it was some bridge where some people actually survived the jump. They said almost every single one of them, as soon as they stepped off the ledge, they regretted it. They said, what am I doing? And they regretted it as soon as they stepped off. I don't know if this person who wrote to me is in that space. I hope not. I care about you. I want you to continue to move in the direction that's right for you. I want you to continue or start the process of making decisions that work for you. And I want you to remember that not everybody has your best interest in mind. And sometimes you have to have your best interest in mind in order to define yourself to the world and show the world that this is who I am, whether you like it or not. This is who I am, and this is how I'm going to continue showing up. And I might make this group unhappy and make this person happy, and I may make this person unhappy. I mean, you're going to find that the more you put yourself out there, the more love you're going to get from one side and the more hate sometimes you'll get from another side. And I've learned that the more I define myself, the more love I get, and the hate diminishes. And the toxic people in my life, they start to go away because now I really love who I've become, and that overrides any negativity that other people feel for me. I'm not saying it never hurts. I am saying that I can heal from it fast. And I hope this person who wrote to me, I hope whatever you're going through, you're able to heal through and heal from and get through so that you can find meaning and purpose in your life. And that's what I have for you today. Thank you so much for tuning into another episode of The Overwhelmed Brain. I want to thank 2 people who gave donations. These people I've read before. Supraha, again, I'm not sure if I pronounced your name. And Lisa, both of you, I'm so grateful. I don't know what you heard, but you must have heard something good because you sent a couple more donations. Thank you so much to you, and thank you to the patrons who give to this show regularly. I'm so grateful to all of you and very humbled. I appreciate you. And if you find value in this show, like these patrons do, head over to moretob.com where you have options to give back. And for a show on how to navigate the difficult relationship, listen to my other podcast called Love and Abuse over at loveandabuse.com. And if you know you're the difficult one in the relationship, join the program that is helping a lot of people heal over at healedbeing.com. This was a tough episode. It really was. My heart goes out to anyone that is suffering or feeling like there's no reason to be here. I definitely know where you are. I can feel that. I can be right there with you. I have been in that space with you. So just keep your mind open, because that's how you make the best decisions. And be firm in your decisions and actions so that you can create the life you want. Always take steps to grow and evolve. You are powerful beyond measure. And above all, and this is something I absolutely know to be true about you, you are amazing.